So, you love sports, right? Of course you do. But have you ever seriously wondered how you make that leap, from being a fan in the stands to actually being a professional on the inside? How you turn that passion into an actual career? Well, stick around because that's exactly what we're about to break down. Hey, what's up and welcome to Subjects Simplified. Look, if you're tackling your BTech in sport, you've just found your secret weapon. Seriously, think of this as your personal playbook for absolutely crushing your assignments. We're going to break it down into 3 key plays. First up, choosing your position. Basically, figuring out where you fit in the massive world of sports. Then we'll get into knowing the game's rules. This is the super important stuff, the standards and laws you just can't ignore. And finally, we'll hit the never-ending training montage, all about how you keep getting better once you're in the game. Okay, let's get into it. Any great team needs a whole mix of talent, right? You've got your strikers, your defenders, your tactical geniuses on the sideline. Well, the sports industry, it's exactly the same. So the real question isn't just if you want to work in sports, it's what's your position on the team. All right, team, huddle up. Section 1, we're getting into the scouting report. We're going to look at the main career pathways to help you find that perfect spot, the one that really plays to your strengths. Okay, first up, we've got 2 of the absolute heavy hitters, coaching and sports science. Just think of it like this. The coach, they're the general out on the field, right in the thick of it, making the calls and inspiring the players. The sports scientist, they're the genius back in the lab, kind of like the Q to the coach's James Bond. They're analyzing every little piece of data to find that tiny edge that leads to a win. So if coaching is calling your name, it's not just one single path. You'll typically get your start by getting qualified through a national governing body, an NGB, and from there, the world's your oyster. You can specialize in so many ways, coaching football instead of swimming, adapting your skills for disability sport, or working with kids. And listen, if you work with children, safeguarding is everything. Let me be 100% clear. This is not some box-ticking thing. It is the absolute foundation of being a good, trusted coach. And if you're more drawn to the science side of things, oh man, you can get super specific. You could be the nutritionist who plans the diet that fuels a championship team, or the sports psychologist who builds that unbreakable mental game. Maybe you're the therapist who gets an injured star back on the pitch weeks ahead of schedule, or the fitness expert who finds that extra 1% of power. Every single one is a critical piece of the puzzle. Now, let's talk about the business side of things. Sports development, that's like being a scout. You're out there in the community, finding new talent, setting up leagues, and just making sure the sport itself keeps growing from the ground up. Leisure management, though, that's like being the general manager of the whole club. You're running the entire operation, the stadium, the local gym, making sure the lights are on, the customers are happy, and the money makes sense. And don't for a second think that being a GM is a solo gig. No way. It is a massive operation. You need people managing the buildings, a health and safety officer making sure everything's up to code, marketing pros putting bums on seats, finance experts managing the budget, even lifeguards keeping everyone safe. It really is the team behind the team. So here's the bottom line for this whole section. No matter which of these positions you're aiming for, education is how you get in the door. That level 3 qualification you're working on right now, that's it. That is your ticket into the game. It's the first and most essential step towards any of these amazing careers. Seriously, have you ever seen a game with no ref? No rules, no lines on the pitch? It's just total chaos, right? Well, the professional sports industry has its own referees and its own rule books, and they exist for a really good reason, to keep things safe, fair, and professional for everyone involved. And that brings us to Section 2. Now, I really want you to pay attention here, because this is the stuff that can honestly make or break your career. We're talking about the legislation, the standards, and the professional bodies that are the absolute bedrock of being a pro in this industry. Let's kick off with the single most important rule of all, safeguarding. It's all about protecting children and vulnerable adults, and the main tool we use is the DBS check. The best way to think about this is like a mandatory pre-game fitness test. If you don't pass it, you are not allowed on the field. It is that simple, and it's that important, period. So who are these referees I mentioned? Well, they're the professional bodies. You've got big ones like CIMSP, which is the Chartered Institute trying to raise the standards for the entire industry. There's REPS, which is all about making sure personal trainers and gym instructors are properly qualified. For you adrenaline junkies, you've got AALA, which licenses things like rock climbing to make sure it's safe. And of course, every sport has its own national governing body, like the FA for football, setting the rules for their game.
So, being a pro means you live and breathe these standards every single day. It means you follow the codes of practice set out by groups like Sports Coach UK. You know your own company's policies inside and out. You understand the specific laws that impact your job. And you always put safeguarding first. That's what professionalism really looks like.
Okay, for your assignments and for when you're actually out there looking for a job, you have got to understand this difference. A job description tells you the what. It's a checklist, right? Run warm-up drills, manage social media. But the person specification, that tells you the who. It's the skills and qualities you need, like must be a great communicator or needs to be highly organized. Get that difference locked in. It's so important. Do you think the best athletes in the world stop training once they get their big contract? No way. They're completely obsessed with getting better every single day. And as a professional working in sports, you need to have that exact same mindset. Getting the job, that's just the start line. Which brings us perfectly to our final section, the never-ending training montage. This is your guide to something called continuing professional development, or CPD for short. It's basically the process that makes sure you stay at the absolute top of your game for your entire career. So what actually is CPD? Honestly, the best and funniest way to think about it is like the software updates for your phone. Yeah, you can ignore them for a little bit, but pretty soon your phone starts getting slow, you miss out on the cool new features, and you become vulnerable. It's the same in your career. If you ignore CPD, your skills get old and you will get left behind. So how do you stay updated? It's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. You just follow these 4 basic steps. Number 1, join a professional body to get all their resources. 2, keep a simple log of all the training you do. 3, make sure you stay on top of required updates, like your first aid certificate. And 4, always be looking for that next step, whether it's a higher level course or management training. And CPD isn't just about going on boring courses, It comes in all shapes and sizes. It could be reading industry magazines through your professional membership. It could be getting experience by volunteering on a committee. It could even be going back to uni to get a master's degree. It's all good stuff, and it all counts. Let's make this super real. CPD in action? That's a football coach studying for their next UEFA badge so they can work with elite players. It's a gym manager taking a business course to boost memberships. It's a sports therapist simply renewing their first aid certificate, which is just as crucial. It's all about constantly improving in ways that are relevant to your job. So, there you have it. That is your game plan for building an amazing career in sport. Play 1, choose your position. Find a pathway that you're actually excited about. Play 2, know the rules of the game. Get to grips with the standards and the legislation. And play 3, always be training. Commit to being a lifelong learner through CPD. All right, you've got the playbook. You know the positions, you know the rules, and you know how to train. So the only question left is, what's your first move going to be? Hey, if this explainer helped you out and simplified things for your assignment, do us a huge favor and hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to Subject Simplified for more. Thanks for watching and good luck out there.